For all of
All right, everybody, we're here with Ray Anderson to discuss the change in leadership with Sun Devil Baseball. We're just going to go straight to questions, no opening statement. So, Jeff, you're on the clock.
Hi, Ray. I know you've shown a fair amount of patience here with Tracy, but I also know in the past that when you make a change, a lot of times you're just not comfortable with the direction of the program. Can you just go into a little more detail about, what your thinking was in making this change?
Well, Jeff, I always look at a full body of work. I don't look at one season, so I have to go back and look at from 2015 forward. And ultimately, I have to make the judgment as to whether there's been enough improvement in the program to really be confident that going forward, we're going to make the next step toward the level of competition consistently that we want. And so when I put it all together and really thought about the way forward, I did not have the confidence that the program was going to elevate further and would not meet our needs going forward. So it was the body of work over the 7 years ultimately that led to the decision.
Jacob.
Hi, Ray. Just when it comes to a decision like this, how difficult was it given the amount of time that Tracy was here and that he was one of your first hires, and just the importance of that relationship in this decision? Very
difficult because Tracy and I, we're friends. It's personal because I brought him in. We came in together very confident that we could advance the program and very frankly, bring back some of the glory days of old. Really thought that we had an opportunity to do that. And when you come to the realization that it's not working to the extent or at the level you anticipated, it's obviously very disappointing. And so tough decisions, but that's my responsibility to the program to make decisions that will make us better and elevate us going forward. And so very tough. Tracy's a fine person. And so it's hard to see someone, very frankly, that you personally have a relationship with and have to, mutually part ways, but we knew it was time. And so we made the decision this afternoon.
Jacob, go ahead.
You've discussed the expectations for Arizona State programs at large, and then again, specifically with ASU baseball. And I'm curious just kind of what those expectations are moving forward for the program and what you're looking for in the next head coach of this team.
The expectations are across the board that we are going to consistently be in the top 3 in the Pac-12, which puts us in a conversation for a top 15 in the country across our sports. And certainly with ASU baseball, that in our view is a very realistic expectation. So going forward, what are we looking for? We're going to look for a leader who will come in here and really do an assessment and really look to instill discipline and focus and accountability and really kind of a intensity that we think is necessary to win and meet the expectations that we have here for ASU baseball. And so that's what we're going to be looking for. Someone who will come in and very frankly, re-energize ASU baseball, our donors, our alums, our fan base. And so that's what we're looking for in our new leader.
Jeff, go ahead.
When you think about the circumstances the last 2 years, with COVID and with the pitching injuries this year, did that make it harder to come to this conclusion, factoring in, you said you went back to 2015, the whole body of work, but how much did the circumstances the last 2 years sort of play into, what your decision was going to be?
Well, they certainly were things you have to think long and hard about, Jeff. Were they mitigating factors? Yes. But, everybody had bad luck the last couple of years with COVID, losing last season, and then some of the injuries and the youth But those are challenges that folks across the country have. And it's the leader's job to ultimately figure a way to fight through all that adversity. And very frankly, as a coach, produce the wins and losses that you need to be able to keep elevating your program forward. So yes, that made it harder. But you know, I'm of the no excuses, no explanation mindset. Because you can sit around making excuses and explanations all day long, any given year, for why you didn't accomplish something. And so no excuses, no explanations at the end of the day. We're not appropriate here. And so the body of work was the totality that we considered in making the decision.
Michael?
Ray, is this the kind of letting go where the entire staff is kind of put out of position to get the head job, or are they going to be considered, or are you going to go outside of the program to try and find someone to replace Tracy?
No, there's never in my view an assessment that you automatically eliminate any other folks on the staff. A new head coach will certainly come in and get an opportunity to make that assessment as to who on the current staff maybe should get an opportunity to continue. You never say, no, we won't consider someone internally for the position. So our search will be deliberate, and we certainly will get an opportunity to talk with both Ben and Jason and get their view on the state of ASU baseball.
Next question. Chidi.
Hi, I don't know if you know this yet, but do you have a timeline on your search or when that will get started?
The search is underway. You're never, very frankly, in an athletic director position, certainly with the colleagues I trust and respect, you're never unprepared. And so we will get underway immediately. Do we have a time frame per se? No, we're going to be deliberate, and then we will announce it when we are comfortable that we have our next leader that we think is the best fit for this program going forward.
Jeff?
Where do you think the program, you mentioned the state of the program, where do you think the program is right now compared to when Tracy came in? What progress or what do you think is, I don't know, I'm not putting this too well, but where do you think the program is right now compared to 2015 when you had to make this last change?
Yeah, I think the program is, very frankly, very much in the same place, mediocre. And that's one of the reasons we made the change last time. And that's, very frankly, one of the reasons we're making the change this time. We have not moved the needle enough in terms of the performance of the program and the thing that matters most to folks who love ASU baseball. And that's wins and losses and conference standing and going to regionals and going to super regionals and making it to the World Series on some regular basis. And so it hasn't made much progress. It hasn't moved the needle much, Jeff, very frankly, in the 7 years. And Tracy and I both regret that.
Chris?
Yeah, Ray, what types of things have you taken from your experiences previously hiring coaches, and just now that you're been here a long time at ASU, that will help you in this process of hiring the next coach?
Understanding and appreciating those things that need improving now, and hopefully be able to make improvements that will be sustainable upgrades to the program long term. So we think we have seen in football where at least there's a good sense of confidence here that we're on our way to doing that. And we want to be able to duplicate that for Arizona State baseball.
Jeff?
There's already been quite a bit of movement across the country with other jobs opening up and people that are on the market. What do you think? How does that impact your, moving forward on a coach with some people that are out there already that have been in kind of high profile positions?
Well, there's going to be interest in this position from folks, in my view, at every level, established coaches and aspiring coaches. So we have no predetermined notion. We also are realistic enough to know that you're not going to compete salary-wise, very frankly, in the Pac-12 if you have a big SEC or a big ACC or a big Big 12 school going after somebody, because they're going to lavish them with compensation, and we don't have that luxury here at ASU or the Pac-12, very frankly. So there'll be some folks who we will quickly determine are really not in our pool of candidates. And so we won't waste a lot of time in those situations.
Other questions? Jeff, go ahead.
So what you've done with the stadium, the last time you made a change like this, you were still at Packard. Now you're fully entrenched over at Phoenix Muni. You've got a really nice facility and, in some ways, some enticing things to offer. How much is that going to help you in this search, do you think?
It's going to help us tremendously because facilities and training and development capacity is real when you're recruiting and frankly, coaches and players. So we think Phoenix Muni and our setup over there is the finest in collegiate baseball. We think this university in this community, Arizona State, is a really good place to recruit from. So you put those things together and we think they will be big pluses in our search process, Jeff.
Chris.
Ray, the team should be returning most of its talent next year. Was that a factor in your consideration in terms of how it might appeal to candidates or any other aspect?
Well, certainly, I think we have some elite student athletes here in ASU baseball. And so they're young, but great potential as shown by their performance this year. So I don't think there's any question that the talent on the roster will certainly be attractive to the next head coach.
Raymond.
Hey, Ray, I'm just curious how the team was made aware of this news, if you let them know beforehand, and if so, how they took the news.
No, you wouldn't have these discussions with the team, Ray, before you had the discussion with the head coach. So they will be informed, unfortunately, because they got back and then cleaned out their lockers and everybody kind of dispersed anxiously for home or to their summer baseball assignments. So they will find out through communications from their coach, their assistant coaches, their ops people, and probably some of them because of where they might be in their travels through the news sources like you all. But we did not meet with them per se because that was not appropriate under the circumstances.
Kendall, go ahead.
You're on mute, Kendall.
Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Just kind of looking at Arizona State in general. Obviously, it's one of the more historic programs in college baseball history. I guess what is the approach? You kind of made the comment earlier, and I think conceding is the wrong word, but like you kind of made the comment like, hey, we're just not going to be able to compete with some of these schools salary-wise. As you look at it from an athletic director's perspective, I'm just going to throw a name out there. If there's a guy like a Pat Casey or something who's won 3 national championships and like, yeah, we might have to overpay the guy at a program like Arizona State that is a historical power. Like, isn't that something that you look back and go, you know what, like maybe it's a little bit more than what we're willing to pay, but like this is Arizona State baseball, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like, is there a tendency for you to kind of look back or step back and think, hey, maybe with this kind of program, maybe we actually do need to pay like those schools do?
Well, nothing's ever off the table, Kendall, but it's also my responsibility to set reasonable expectations. And part of that as part of this process is to signal to the agents for those coaches, and I haven't you mentioned the name, I didn't mention it, that, it may be worth a conversation if you want to call and let's talk, but also be realistic and understanding that we're not going to get in a bidding war, very frankly, with some of those who, very frankly, have no limitations and don't support 26 varsity programs. They only support 18 or 19. And so their financial wherewithal is significantly more robust than ours. And we have a different model. So, but your point is well taken. If the right person that could make us better comes along and says, hey, let's talk. I don't have any preconceived notion about needing to be paid the highest salary in all of college baseball to consider Arizona State. That's a different scenario. But thanks for the question and for giving me a chance to clarify.
I appreciate it. That was awesome.
If it's the right person and we can do what is right for ASU, then we will certainly explore that to the 10th.
Thanks, Ray.
You're welcome, Kendall.
Jeff, go ahead.
You mentioned football a while back and what's happened there. And of course, how you built this sort of different model for going forward with football. Has that crossed your mind at all with baseball? And is that even feasible to do something like that in baseball?
It's always feasible in my view if you want to put the time and effort into working it out. And so, yes, we certainly thought about that model as something that may make sense for us. And we'll continue to massage that as we go through the process, Jeff. But yes, it's crossed our mind to be sure.
Michael.
Ray, was there a concern that with this move, you would lose players that are on the current roster that played on the team this year with such a young team, not too many people leaving? But was that kind of a factor into your decision as well, that you had the second youngest team in the country and that some may transfer because of this move?
You always consider those things, but in this new world of transfer, you have no control. They may transfer next year. You might have folks who look up and say, hey, the change is good. We're going to transfer to ASU. So you can't, and we didn't spend a lot of time trying to prognosticate something that's so new that is out of our control anyway. And at the end of the day, we're going to make the decision that's going to be best for the program as a whole going forward. We're not going to make decisions based on whether or not some 18 or 19-year-olds will feel the need for their own purposes to transfer. No disrespect at all, but it's a lot bigger thing for us to think about than just if we have a handful of guys who decide they want to transfer. That's going on in every sport across the country right now, as you know. So we didn't overthink that.
Final questions from anybody? Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome. See you.